How strong is Taro Sakamoto from Sakamoto Days? Welcome to Hacked, the series where we talk about all things feats, speed, and hacks. Now the goal of today is determining exactly how powerful is the overweight assassin Taro Sakamoto. Sakamoto Days is the story of an individual once considered as the greatest hitman of all time. However, one day he began to fall in love and met his wife Aoi Sakamoto, whom in the earlier stages of their relationship was deeply opposed to the prospect of him killing, and hence took very extreme measures such as jumping off a literal building just to properly convey how heavily she forbade it. Ao makes it a very strong point of emphasis in her newly established family rules to teach Sakamoto the uncompromising value of life, which as you'd imagine is a disastrous trait to acquire for one whose sole purpose is to kill an assassin. As a result of his wife's uncompromising nature and this marriage-threatening conflict of interest, Sakamoto simply retired, got married and had a baby. In being a family man, Sakamoto found himself often domesticated and began overeating, and it's due to the accumulation of a multitude of bad habits as well as the lack of physical activity that he then proceeded to get seriously out of shape. The main point of this series is that whilst leaving his killing career behind, try as he might, his history never left him. It's common knowledge that the contract killing industry holds an unspoken no tolerance desert policy in order to prevent leakage of information, which thereby resulted in a huge bounty being placed on his head. Many assassins hence attempted to take his head, and of course to their own dismay, despite being a plus-size shell of his former self, he is still incredibly hard to off. In every chapter that we see a failed assassination attempt on Sakamoto, it's during this that he demonstrates incomprehensible feats of superhuman strength, such as, stopping a bullet with a cough drop and bringing down armed, bloodlusted assassins with bits of stationery like ballpoint pens, or even smashing a sniper rifle with a rock. A level of adaptability that's ridiculous to the point of it being hilarious. Now in terms of scaling, we should first begin by looking back at the introduction. All enemies feared him, all hitmen revered him. Now bearing in mind that the term revered is used, with revered meaning the act of feeling deep respect or admiration for something or someone. An individual whom is revered within this context presupposes an intrinsic level of merit and inviolability granted by him demonstrating a level of skill considered worthy of great honor and respect by even the most powerful hitmen in the verse. Now taking into account the introduction in conjunction with a statement by Nagumo, a member of the Order, about how it was a common occurrence for assassins to try and kill each other, as well as the fact that the general rule of thumb in this series is the ability to exploit weakness is a sign of a top-notch assassin. Logically, this would then mean that he's implied to be, at the very least, during his prime, on a level of relativity with the most powerful characters in the series, granted by him being unanimously seen as an entity that is, as a whole, meaning all of his physical statistics in their totality, very difficult to kill, via him displaying very few exploitable weaknesses. Not only is this consistent with accounts from other members of the Order such as Shishiba regarding his topic, mind you that this is despite his skill having significantly atrophied during his hiatus. All of this comes in addition to various relatively significant feats which are in the same general vicinity as those performed by members of the Order. Now building upon this interpretation further, we see that it's also consistent with how Sakamoto intrinsically measures one's value as an assassin. We see him often basing it off of things like survivability, which is the ability to remain alive, with the best method being to have the capability to kill regardless of the situation and or enemy without dependence on any one weapon. We can, as the reader, gather that it's by Sakamoto obtaining the ability to truly make one's presence a weapon that he's hence described by Uzuki as an individual worthy of being regarded as the ultimate assassin. Now that's just a pin drop in a bucket load of reasons for why he should scale, at least in his prime, to the top tiers of the verse. Aside from proving that he scales to the best AP feats, which I'll explain later, his ridiculous survivability extends to resistances to things such as various poisons, which are part of the compulsory conditioning conducted by the JCC, which is the major contract killing organization in this verse. And as per his ridiculous training, he's also able to achieve a level of durability that makes his body as tough as steel, despite him not having any scientific enhancements. Now this is actually pretty useful. First of all, because by receiving this statement from a modified, mostly metallic human like Uzuki, this is likely meant to be taken in the hyperliteral sense. And it's actually really cool because generally in street tier verses, despite possessing superhuman feats of strength, by being a human typically we see that the durability only truly extends to blunt attacks, and hence building level durability characters can still be bested by knives and bullets. But we see that in Sakamoto's case, he can actually come out relatively unscathed by sharp objects, as well as durability allows him to withstand attacks from wall plus to small building level characters such as the cords of the convict apart that can slice the very foundation of skyscrapers. So sharp objects really aren't too much of a problem for him. Atop his poison resistance and inhuman durability, he also boasts a high level of thermal resistance, which puts JCC's extreme conditioning to shame, shown by how the ex-association members like Shin struggle in these very conditions. This is of course not in any attempt to downplay Shin. I for one definitely don't blame Shin for having a hard time in these insane conditions, especially considering the fact that these quote-unquote leisure facilities colonies, which both he and Sakamoto visited, were intended for the sole purpose of actually assassinating Sakamoto. Baths as cold as 1 degree Celsius and superheated saunas. And I mean, we're talking heat to the point of it being able to cause spontaneous combustion. And aside from that, Sakamoto can even endure the pressure of 10-ton waterfalls, and the list just goes on. Now, with all that being said, exactly how strong is current Sakamoto? Now, for AP, Taro Sakamoto, as early as the 2nd chapter, displays insane feats of strength, like stopping a high-speed bus with only a stop sign. By using the kinetic energy formula, approximating the velocity of the bus, and taking into account the mass of the bus, including its various passengers, I was already able to get a wall-to-wall plus level feat pretty easily. It then goes as follows in chapter 12, where we once again see that Sakamoto is easily able to smash highly skilled characters like Boyle through walls, which also required wall plus levels of force. And as of now, the best AP feat we have for Taro is in chapter 48, where Park, a member of the superhuman group of escaped convicts, cuts through a major beam in what appears to be the Tokyo Tower, causing the tower to begin tilting in an extremely short time frame. In response to this, Taro quickly grabs an electric cable, and using only his physical strength, he completely halts the tilting of the tower. Now, taking into account the mass of the tower, the pivot, and the degree to which the tower tilts, I was able to get a small building to small building plus level feat for Taro. The best part about this is that it's actually really consistent with the feats from the Order, whom are implied to be relative to a much stronger version of Taro, such as Takamura, who can actually consistently accomplish building to building plus, upwards to even large building level feats such as slicing through limousines, entire corporate offices, and even through a large proportion of the skyscraper.
Nice.
Now that we've gone through AP and hacks, we can now get into the more nitty-gritty stuff like speed. By now we've established that Sakamoto characters are pretty strong, but they're also no slouch when it comes to speed. As early as chapter 1, we see Sakamoto not only perception blitzing some armed assassins, also disarming and unloading the gun of an assailant within the said time frame. By taking into account the actions necessary to unload the firearm, using the time frame by MIT for peak human perception speeds, which is fine since these characters were assassins conditioned by the JCC, I was actually able to get a whopping 3.7 times the speed of sound for this feat. Now, this is already pretty ridiculous for a chapter 1 feat, but this only scratches the surface of the absurd levels of speed shown by the overweight assassin. We then further on see a part able to react to the special ricochet triple rebound sniper bullets fired by Highskate, and by guarding himself at just 0.7 meters from the bullet, I was able to get a hypersonic feat. Taro, even in his disheveled state, is not only multiple blitzes faster than these hypersonic characters, but has an even more impressive display of speed than stated previously. In chapter 34, we see Taro enjoying a meal with his colleagues at a local diner, and get this, he effortlessly catches the bullet fired by a member of the Chinese mafia from a distance of just 5 centimeters away from his head, using only a fork. Crazy. Now, this casual display of speed was calculated at an unreal Mach 41 or high hypersonic, which is not only absurdly fast, but once again, very consistent, upscaling from his previous feats of speed. And if there was ever any uncertainty about his speed, it's also substantiated by the fact that he can catch 99 out of 100 sniper rifle bullets using only a set of chopsticks.
You must be one of them trolls, huh?
I think it's fairly safe to say that even whilst being a far cry of his original strength, he would be pretty comfortably into the high hypersonic range in terms of speed. In conclusion, the out of shape Taro is about small building level to small building level plus, possibly even building level. At 100%, at a highball, he could potentially be anywhere from high hypersonic plus to massively hypersonic, since he's only at 30% of his original strength. But of course, you have to prove that this is linear for speed, which is a whole new kind of worm. So this is just a theoretical highball. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Take care, guys.